Ma'am, please. Please save my dad. The little boy's voice cracked through the hospital hallway. Everyone froze. Doctors, nurses, even the billionaire's guards. But only one person moved. A poor black woman in scrubs, with tired eyes and shaking hands. The same woman that man's company had just fired the week before. The siren screamed through the night. Red and blue. Lights flashed across the rain-slicked streets, reflecting off marble walls and glass towers, inside the emergency ward of St. Clair General Hospital. Chaos reigned, stretchers rolling, monitors beeping, doctors shouting order, and in the middle of it all, Nurse Angela Porter stood frozen for just 1 second, eyes wide, heart pounding. She'd seen emergencies before, but never him. On the stretcher was Richard Langford, one of the richest men in the city, owner of Langford Holdings, the empire that controlled half the hospitals in the state, and he wasn't breathing. The A doctors rushed in, shouting commands, cardiac arrest. Clear the room. Angela stepped back, clutching her clipboard, her stomach twisting. Just last week, that same company, Langford Holdings, had laid her off from her second job at their medical branch after budget cuts. She'd been working 2 shifts, one as a nurse, one as a cleaner, just to afford her mother's dialysis treatments. And now fate had brought her face to face with the man responsible for it all. As the team worked frantically inside, Angela heard soft sobs echoing from the waiting area. A small boy, maybe 7, sat alone, clutching a teddy bear soaked from the rain. His cheeks were streaked with tears. She crouched beside him. "Hey, sweetie, are you okay?" He looked up, his voice trembling. "They said my dad's heart stopped." Her heart clenched. "Your dad is Mr. Langford?" He nodded, hiccuping. "Please." Please save my dad." Angela froze. She wasn't on shift for this patient. She wasn't even supposed to be near this case, but the look in that child's eyes, it wasn't about wealth or names. It was the same look she'd had the night her own father died, while she waited for someone, anyone, to help him without another thought. She ran back inside, vitals dropping. Shouted one of the doctors, "Where's the senior attending?" "He's stuck in traffic." Angela threw her hair into a bun, snapped on gloves, and stepped forward. "Move! I've got him." The doctors hesitated. "Who authorized you?" "Does it matter?" "He's dying." She started compressions, strong, steady. Focus. The room blurred around her. Every second felt like a heartbeat. Every push against his chest felt like defiance against the system, against despair, against fate itself. Finally, beep. A faint rhythm flickered across the monitor. "He's back." Someone whispered, "He's got a pulse." The room erupted into sighs of relief, but Angela didn't smile. She just stepped back, shaking, the weight of it all crashing down. Hours later, as dawn crept through the blinds, Richard Langford lay in the ICU, stable but unconscious. Angela sat alone in the hallway, exhausted, drenched in sweat. She knew she could get fired for intervening, suspended, maybe even blacklisted. But then she heard a voice. "Ma, Em?" She turned. It was the boy again, holding his teddy bear tight. "Thank you," he whispered. "You saved my dad." She smiled faintly. "Just doing my job, sweetheart." But before she could say more, 2 men in suits approached. Miss Porter. Her stomach dropped. They flashed their badges. Langford's legal team. "We need a word." Inside the waiting room, 4 bodyguards stood by the door. The lawyer sat across from her, briefcases open, expressions cold. "Miss Porter," one began, "we appreciate your involvement, but Mr. Langford's treatment was unauthorized. We'll need you to sign a non-disclosure agreement immediately." Angela blinked. "Excuse me? Everything that occurred tonight must remain confidential. You're not to discuss the incident, your role, or the patient's identity. Failure to comply could lead to legal action." She finished for him. Her voice trembled, not from fear, but fury. "I didn't save a billionaire," she said quietly. "I saved a man. And you can keep your threats." She stood up, shaking. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have real patience to care for Dot as she walked out. One of the guards muttered, "That woman's got fire." 3 days later, she received a call from the hospital board. She braced herself, ready to hear she'd been suspended, but instead, the voice said, "Nurse Porter, Mr. Langford has requested to meet you personally." Her stomach flipped. She walked into the VIP suite. Heart pounding, the man she'd saved sat upright in bed, pale but alive. His son sat beside him, holding his hand. When he saw her, Richard Langford's eyes softened. "You're the nurse," he said slowly, voice rough. "You saved my life." Angela stayed quiet. "Just did what anyone would have done." He shook his head. "No, you did what no one else was willing to do." His son looked up. "I told you she'd save you." "Dad," Langford gestured for the boy to leave the room. Then he looked at her, not as a patient to a nurse, but as a man to the person who'd seen him at his most fragile. "I built everything on power," he said quietly. "On control. I thought that made me untouchable. But when I was dying, the people I trusted froze. They waited for permission. And the woman my company cast aside, she didn't hesitate." Angela said nothing. He continued, voice breaking. "I realized something. The heart that stopped beating wasn't just mine. It was the heart of what I built. My empire lost its humanity. And you reminded me what it looks like." He reached into his drawer and slid a document toward her. Langford Foundation for Medical Justice. The header read, "I want you to run it," he said simply. Angela blinked. "Run it?" He nodded. "You see what our system does to people who can't afford care. You'll have full funding, no politics, no barriers. Help the people we failed." Tears welled in her eyes. "Why me?" "Because," he said softly, "you saved my life. Now let me help you save others." Months later, the world learned about the Langford Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to free medical access for low-income families. At the press conference, cameras flashed as Angela stood beside the man she'd once known only as a name on a paycheck. Reporters asked her how it all happened. She smiled humbly. "It started with a child's voice," she said. "Ma'am, please save my dad." The room went silent. That's when I realized compassion doesn't check your title before it acts. The billionaire beside her nodded. Visibly emotional. "For years, I measured wealth in profit," he said. "Now I measure it in people." A year later, Angela sat in a small clinic the foundation had opened in her old neighborhood, the same one that had once turned her away for not being able to pay. The waiting room was full. Mothers, children, workers, elders, and among them was a familiar face. The little boy, now smiling, healthy, handing her a flower. "Dad says you're the real hero," he said. She knelt and hugged him gently. "No, sweetheart," she whispered. "We all are, when we care." Angela's story reminds us that kindness and courage are the greatest forms of wealth, that even in a world built on privilege, humanity can still break through one heartbeat at a time, because sometimes the most powerful people are the ones who choose to care when no one else will. Comment where you're watching from and tell us, have you ever seen kindness come from the most unexpected place? Subscribe for more cinematic stories that honor compassion, redemption, and the power of ordinary heroes.